Super Bowl week opened in the Bay Area with a bang. This was a scene Saturday with plenty of fireworks and the Bay Lights being lit on the Bay Bridge. Tens of thousands of fans flocked to the Bay Area for a slew of big events, including Super Bowl City, NFL Experience, Super Bowl opening night, as well as countless concerts and parties. Really excited to welcome a super panel of our own. Jed York, CEO of San Francisco 49ers. Chip Bergh, President and CEO of Levi Strauss & Company. Doesn't get any bigger than that title. And Keith Bruce, longtime friend, CEO of Super Bowl 50 Host Committee. First thing, I've got a call from my third-grade teacher. She wants tickets. Who's coming up with those tickets for me? Anybody?
Watch the fingers.
There it is. There it is. I knew it. All right. Let's get better with this answer. How do you guys collectively, individually, make Super Bowl 50 different? What's the legacy? How do you define it, and how are you doing it?
I think the biggest thing is we wanted this to be the most philanthropic Super Bowl. I think that's something that's a piece of the Bay Area. You know, Daniel Lurie and Keith have really taken the charge in making sure that, you know, a big piece of what we raise for Super Bowl 50 is going back into the community. And so far, we've given out $7.5 million, and we try to give out over $12 million back to the community. Legacy,
Levi's legacy?
Well, you know, our name is over the door of the stadium, but we're trying to activate around that. So if you walk down to the NFL Experience right down the street from here, we've got the city stage presented by Levi's where all these concerts are taking place. We have a Levi's pop-up shop called the Levi's Lot, and we're trying to activate and really make the fan experience a holistic one for the entire week, including the game. I mean, we'll have 1.5 million visitors or so coming into the city from out of town. The stadium's going to seat 75,000 people for the game. So there are going to be a lot of people who are coming here for the experience, and we want them to have an amazing experience here in the city.
And Keith Bruce, when I first met you, you were 6'2", and now you're like 5'9". So, you know, I got your issue. But why this Super Bowl? Why is it so special from your perspective?
Well, first of all, it's the 50th, right? You know, when you turn 50, it's an important moment in the history of the league, and so it's a huge honor to host the milestone 50th Super Bowl. And from the beginning, we knew that we had an opportunity to redefine the way the Super Bowl was celebrated, and I think that's our journey, right? This is the culmination of a 2.5-year journey to get here, to redefine the way people celebrate the Super Bowl. It's been over 30 years since the Bay Area has hosted a Super Bowl, so it's a brand new era of the game, and it's grown up so much over the course of that period of time. And so for us, it's just so exciting for it to be here at our doorstep. You know, we're redefining it in so many ways. A 9-day free to the public fan village, Super Bowl City. We've got unbelievable technology. We've got our food and our wine. We've got our football. You know, we've got our fashion. We've got our music. We've got everything going. Everything that the Bay Area is known for is on display at Super Bowl City.
Fashion, as he looks at the Levi's guy, that's really good. So Petaluma to the north, Los Gatos to the south, Half Moon Bay to the west, Livermore to the east. You got thousands of miles, of square miles. This is the biggest Super Bowl that people have had. Is it an opportunity for transportation disaster, or more appropriately, is an opportunity for consensus building?
Well, I think that's the biggest thing, watching the mayors all come together, you know, starting with Mayor Matthews and Mayor Lee, reaching out to Mayor Liccardo and Mayor Schaaf and everybody in between, and pulling the Bay Area together. And that's what we've always talked about. This is the greatest region in the world, and if we work together, we're unstoppable.
Center of the universe.
This is about pulling together the very best of the Bay Area and showcasing it and celebrating it.
Yeah, and Keith, obviously for you, it's a Super Bowl host. You start an event in San Jose, it's kickoff a Super Bowl, and you've done a very good job of spreading all of these events around all these cities.
From the very beginning, we committed that this would be about the entire Bay Area. You know, we went to the NFL and we said, let's call it the San Francisco Bay Area Super Bowl. They completely agreed. It's about the entire 9-county region. You know, San Francisco kicked things off on Saturday. Santa Clara got into the act on Sunday. San Jose hosted Media Night on Monday. And so it's the entire region coming together to celebrate this historic event.
Niners questions for a couple of minutes. So everybody wants a Super Bowl. The NFL owner is usually the point of the spear to the NFL. They make the decision based on stadiums and other things, and it's hotly competitive. But yet the game serves a significant benefit way beyond the Niners' balance sheet. How do you reconcile it? Why do you do it?
Well, I mean, I think it's just an honor to be able to host the biggest game, and obviously Super Bowl 50, the golden anniversary in the Golden State. We're able to look back at the first 49, and I think the Bay Area has always looked forward. And I think this is a leaping off point for the next generation of the National Football League. And like Keith said, bringing it back to the Bay Area for the first time in over 30 years.
And it helps you, too, right? The Niners, 69% increase in value, according to Forbes. And 160% increase in the premium suite and seat areas for you, too, as long as you have a competitive team on the field, right?
I mean, that's not why we're doing this.
Yeah, right.
We're doing this because we want to make sure that we're great partners to the NFL, and we want to make sure that we do what's right for our community. And in terms of where we are in competitiveness, I mean, I think you know what my standards are on the field, and we'll get back there.
And you'll get there. Is it a hex, a curse, or a coincidence that no Super Bowl team has hosted a game in their own home stadium?
So I understand own home stadium, but when you go back to the last Super Bowl that was here, I think that's the closest. And, you know, when you look at what my uncle built as I think, the greatest owner in the history of the National Football League, and Coach Walsh and those teams, you know, they're the only ones that have done it in their home market.
Fair.
And, you know, we all got our fingers crossed that Eddie's going to make it to Canton this weekend.
Fair and should. And I'm a Dolphin fan, so I remember definitely who won that game. There is no doubt about that. Very clear. So from a Levi's perspective, did your predecessors in 1853, when you moved from Bavaria to 90 Sacramento Street, realize that those years later you were going to have a name on a $1.2 billion stadium? How do you feel?
Well, one of the things our predecessors had was this lifeblood of innovation. I mean, we created the blue jean with a patented, riveted first blue jean, and we've been innovating ever since. I don't think anybody expected that Levi's would have done a stadium. I mean, when we announced the deal back in May of 2013, I think everybody was surprised. But if you think about it, you know, it makes total sense. You go to a football game or a concert or WrestleMania or whatever happens to be there wearing a pair of jeans. And so it was just one more notch of innovation for us as a company.
So it's May 8, 2013, and you're committing to $220.3 million over a 20-year period, $11 million a year.
Don't forget the .3.
The .3 is very important, right? That's really important.
220.
Yeah, well, so, you know, a rounding error. What's a .3 among friends? So are you nervous that day? Is it a great day? What's your reaction to this commitment?
It was a huge day. It was a huge day for us as a company. I think it was a huge day for the city of San Francisco. You know, we talked about this as being a perfect fit, no pun intended. No. But, you know, two iconic San Francisco brands coming together, and I knew that this was going to be a great investment for us as a company, and it's already proven to be. I mean, if you think about it, one 30-second spot in the Super Bowl this year is going for $5 million. You know, we've got the whole stadium for, on average, $11 million a year. And
189 countries, you were saying, watching the Super Bowl.
And 189 countries watching the Super Bowl this year. That's right. So
and the opportunity to work with these two guys is priceless.
That's icing on the cake.
Priceless.
That's the best part of the deal, actually.
Obviously. So you, and I've known you for a long time, so 14 of the last 15 Super Bowls you've been involved, World Cups, Final Fours with your company. Biggest similarities and biggest differences from those experiences and what you're doing today?
I think one similarity is how the Super Bowl has become an international phenomenon. I mean, 189 countries watching the Super Bowl. That didn't happen 10 years ago. The game is going global. It increases in popularity in the international marketplace, and so that's where there are a lot of similarities. So taking some of the things that work really well at an Olympic Games execution or FIFA World Cup and bringing that into this 50th Super Bowl, particularly in an international market like the Bay Area, where they're more receptive to that kind of thinking in terms of the way we handle transportation or the way our fan experiences play out for the audiences or the types of partners and sponsors that we attract as a result of it. So it really is kind of a new breed of the way Super Bowl can be presented with more of an international voice to it. I think the differences are the Super Bowl takes on the personality of the region that hosts it. And in this case, we are a distinctly Bay Area Super Bowl. We will not, no offense, we will not be a Miami Super Bowl. We will not be a New Orleans Super Bowl. We'll have, it'll feel like us. And that's been my mission since day one of working with the committee and building a great team that's solely focused on making the Bay Area proud. We'll be on the world stage. We want it back every 5 or 6 years. We do not intend this to be a one and done. I know these two guys to my right are great partners in that endeavor. And, you know, again, we couldn't do this without the 49ers and their commitment to build Levi's Stadium because if you don't have a great stadium, a world-class facility, you're not going to have a Super Bowl.
Well, it's very clear that I've got to disappoint my third-grade teacher who texted me and said, I want some tickets. And they're going for $12 grand a piece anyway, so you can't control that.
NFL Experience, we can get you.
Yeah, great. I've tried that one already. But, yeah, and Super Bowl City. I mean, there are a lot of big things to do. It's not going to happen, but it's a couple days from the event. What are you almost worried about? You get through the event and you say, "Oh boy, I'm glad that didn't happen." What's the biggest concern you got?
Well, I think the biggest thing that's out of your control is weather.
Yeah.
And
but it's not going to snow. Remember Dallas? Not going to ice.
I do remember that, but so far the weather has cooperated, and that's the biggest thing. And we've got 6,000 volunteers that they're all working hard together. I was down at Super Bowl City today, and you couldn't ask for more friendly people. And those things, have been fantastic.
Yeah, and from your perspective, you have sourdough Sam in your Levi's costume, so everything ought to be working out. You're not worried about a whole lot.
I just want a great game. I mean, as a fan, I want people watching it to the end of the game.
Yeah. You, logistics, everything.
Yeah.
My phone not
I've got a different
up.
set of concerns than normal. But, yeah, I think transportation on game day, we've certainly come out of the gate strong. I was hopeful there'd be fans waiting to get in line at Super Bowl City on Saturday when we opened, and it was hugely rewarding to see long lines. And
they're local.
They're all local. Well, we dubbed it Bay Area Locals Weekend, and we wanted people to come out on Saturday and Sunday and Monday before the rest of the country gets here. But, I agree with Chip. We want a great game. We want a great experience. We've certainly got a great tailwind behind us in terms of all the activities that are getting people excited. I do think the weather, knock on wood, is going to give us a break and cooperate, and El Nino may wait till next week. But even if it didn't, we would be ready. But we just want to make sure people have a great time, and when they leave the Bay Area, they go, man, we can't wait to come back here and do it again.
Ladies and gentlemen, Keith Bruce not only is a classic organizer, but he's now a meteorologist, which is really important to us. So 30 seconds apiece. I wish we had more time. We don't. 50 years from now, 2066, you're asked and you're saying, or you're looking to respond to, Super Bowl 50 was a defining moment for the Bay Area because?
Again, the lasting impact, and I think as Keith and Daniel have really set it out, this is going to be the way Super Bowls are run moving forward.
We all agree with that from the NFL perspective, absolutely. What's your take on the 50 year from now?
I hope I'm still around in 50 years.
Your surrogates have succeeded.
But,
right.
From a Levi's perspective, I would hope that people would look back and say that this was a defining moment for the brand and that it accelerated the business following the Super Bowl.
In many ways, right? In many areas, relationship with the NFL, obviously other sports as well, and helping to bring this community together.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yep.
Your take on that?
I think our hope is, anyway, that we've set a new standard for the way Super Bowls can be celebrated with its giving back legacy, about being about the community, hosting events that the community actually wins and comes out ahead, and people look back and say, hey, Super Bowl 50 kind of put us on a new course and a new trajectory that will set the stage for the next 50 Super Bowls when we get to Super Bowl 100, and I hope they call it 100 and not Super Bowl C.
Yeah, it won't be the Roman numerals. You set another precedent there. Got about 30 seconds. Tagliabue punted on this one, so real quick, who wins and why? Forget the why. Who wins?
I think Carolina's playing so well right now. Cam is just on a different level. I mean, that's my gut.
Hey, quick.
I like the underdog, so I'm
Denver.
I'm going to root for Denver.
Go.
I don't care. I want an overtime game. The first
There you
Super
go.
Bowl.
I like that one.
There's another politician. Keith and Bruce, that's the bottom line. It's going to do it for Beyond the Scoreboard. Thanks very much to all of you guys. Really appreciate it. Everybody, really important. Have a great weekend and enjoy the Super Bowl.